Hello, I'm Father Joe Roesch of the Marian Fathers of the Immaculate Conception. Thank you for joining us as we continue with our year-long journey, reading the diary of St. Maria Faustina Kowalska from beginning to end. Today we take up from where we left off, beginning with diary entry number 1301. It is extraordinary how Mother Irene has so much light from God concerning this whole matter. She was the first to allow me to carry out the Lord's wishes, although it was not until 2 years after the revelation that she became my superior. And despite this fact, she was the first to go with me when the painting of the image was first undertaken. And now, again, when some things concerning the Divine Mercy are being published and small holy cards are being printed, again it is she who is going with me to take care of this matter. God has ordained all this in a mysterious way, because this was begun in Vilnius, and now God's will has so directed the circumstances that this matter is being continued in Krakow. I know how pleasing this superior is to God. I see how God is directing everything and wants me to be under her protection during these important times. Thank you, Lord, for such superiors who live in the love and fear of God. That is why I pray for her most of all, because she has put herself out the most for the sake of this work of divine mercy. September 29th, 1937. Today I have come to understand many of God's mysteries. I have come to know that Holy Communion remains in me until the next Holy Communion. A vivid and clearly felt presence of God continues in my soul. The awareness of this plunges me into deep recollection without the slightest effort on my part. My heart is a living tabernacle in which the living host is reserved. I have never sought God in some far-off place, but within myself. It is in the depths of my own being that I commune with my God. My God, despite all the graces, I long without cease to be eternally united with my God, and the better I know him, the more ardently I desire him. Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. With longing I gaze into the starlit sky, into the sapphire of fathomless firmaments. There the pure heart leaps out to find you, O God, and yearns to be freed of the bonds of the flesh. With great longing I gaze upon you, my homeland. When will this, my exile, come to an end? O Jesus, such is the call of your bride, who suffers agony in her thirst for you. With longing I gaze at the footprints of the saints who crossed this wilderness on their way to the fatherland. They left me the example of their virtue and their counsels, and they say to me, "Patience, sister, soon the fetters will break." But my longing soul hears not these words. Ardently it yearns for its Lord and its God, and it understands not human language, because it is enamored of him alone. My longing soul, wounded with love, forces its way through all created things, and unites itself with infinite eternity, with the Lord whom my heart has espoused. Allow my longing soul, O God, to be drowned in your divine threefold essence. Fulfill my desires, for which I humbly beg you, with a heart brimming with love's fire. A certain person came to the door today and asked to be admitted as one of our students, but she could not be admitted. She was in great need of our house. During the conversation which I had with her, the passion of Jesus was renewed in me. When she had gone, I undertook one of the severest mortifications, Nevertheless, the next time I will not let such a soul get away. For 3 days I suffered much on her account. How much I regret that our institutions are so small and that they cannot accommodate a greater number of souls. My Jesus, you know how much I grieve over every straying sheep. St. Faustina writes of her superior being given special graces from God to understand the need to assist in the promulgation of the Divine Mercy message and devotion, and she cooperated with these graces. She did what the Lord was inspiring her to do. So St. Faustina is very grateful to have such a superior, and she prayed for her. Faustina was given an extraordinary grace. Holy Communion would remain in her from one communion to the next. So she literally became a living tabernacle. When we receive communion in the form of the host, the bread that we consume decomposes, and the physical presence of Jesus in us ceases after several minutes, maybe up to 15 minutes. But St. Faustina always had the physical presence of Jesus in her, not just spiritual. Faustina writes some beautiful prayer poetry here, expressing her longing to be united with Jesus forever. We should have such a longing in our hearts. It would help us to put the problems that we face here on earth into the proper perspective. And then a young girl with many problems came to the door. Faustina said she experienced the passion of Christ in her, so probably this girl was living in sin. But apparently there was no room for her. She wanted to enter and stay with them as a ward. And Faustina was greatly distressed by this, and she offered many sacrifices for the girl, knowing how she could have benefited from being in their program and in their house. Who knows what kind of a situation the girl was in the world. So St. Faustina is very compassionate and empathetic.